Good afternoon, everybody. This is Captain Rich with Stillwater's Fishing. We're in the shop today. I wanted to share a story from yesterday and bring you guys into the shop so I can kind of work and talk at the same time. So I'm just going to start on this jig and kind of walk you guys through the process of how I powder coat it and then tie those jigs on. Get that in there, give it a good wash around. Usually do 2 at a time. So yesterday I was fishing and I was coming to the end of the day and I made my way to the south end of the lake, and there was a patch of lily pads that were actually on the surface of the water, and the wind was blowing from north to south, and I was throwing a swim jig in there just like I had talked about in yesterday's video. And I was going down, and then I was dragging it through the lily pads, bumping it along, and I started pulling it back at a higher speed because I was kind of done with the cast. And I saw a wake coming behind it, and I killed it right at the boat, and I saw a giant tail leave and a boil, and that was it. And of course my heart was broke. So today I'm making jigs with a little bit more color in them. So I made this black jig and I threw that guy on there, and I was like, well, why don't I just make some really wild colors and maybe I can go back and maybe get that girl to bite. So what I'm working with here is a little bright orange with some fancy speckled green, a little muted orange with like a green pumpkin, black dot, and then some green and brown stripe there. I've already got them combed out and the wire set. So this is the color of the head that I'm going with. It's got kind of a red color to it when the light hits it, and then when it's not in the light it's just kind of a dark muted color. I've already drilled out the weed guard, and I take a Dremel tool and I just drill out the eye there so you can get your line through, because most of us double up our lines anyways. So I just put that in there. Grab my first set. I'm going to put the fancy side towards the side of the jig that the fish will see, and I'm kind of back and forth on whether I should leave the fancy side down or the fancy side up. But for this one I'm going fancy side towards the top of the jig. So I'll put that in there like so, drape that down there about halfway. I don't mind going a little bit longer on the front. That's just kind of how I do it. Wrap those guys in there, wrapping back towards the standing leg as always. Just kind of leave that loose, and then I just give a little pull on all those guys. Get them to kind of go around that head even Steven like. Push this around, kind of pull that side down around because I don't want a bald spot. I already got one of those. Wouldn't wish that on anybody. Struggle's real. Alright, I'm going to take my handy dandy 90-degree pliers. Give that a tug. I'm not trying to moor the Titanic, just snug it up. Just trying to hold the skirt on. So I'm going to throw 8 to 10 wraps on there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nip that off at about 1/4 of an inch. Push that tail down. Get those nice and even. I put them under a little tension, that way I can watch them spring loose, just in case any of those strands are still stuck together after combing it. As I've said before, huge pet peeve of mine when strands are stuck together. I hope that did not come through. Alright, so there we go. That's how that guy looks. Well, I don't know. The baby bass color was kind of working first thing in the morning. No committal bites, just the one. And then I went to white, and that wasn't good enough for the big girl to bite. And then I'm going to outfit this guy with a green, heavy because it's a 1/2 ounce jig. So all of these weed guards, they're not all created equal, and neither am I when I'm drilling that hole. So I dry fit them, and I make sure that weed guard is not crooked off to the side, uncovering the hook or anything like that. And sometimes if it is, if you just give it like a 1/4 turn and stick it back in there, sometimes it'll line up. That I think is going to ride real nice. Another important thing, if you guys are just buying jigs at the store or something like that, be aware of this gap, weed guard to hook point. If it's sticking straight out and you've got a giant gap, that's bad. Because what happens is when you're trying to bring it over a limb or something like that, that hook catches that limb, and now you can't get it off because the weed guard's sitting here, so it can't come up and it can't get off the limb because of the hook, and then you're just going to go in and blow up your spot. So thanks for joining me today. That's the new little rig I'm going to throw at him, see if I can't elicit some more bites in this colder weather. And yeah, I appreciate you guys joining me. Godspeed.